Hey guys, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, and this is another session for all you guys out there that are doing all these questions. You're asking a lot of questions, and I'm doing a whole series on You Ask, Ken Answers, and this is kind of a continuation from that. This one is about how to perform in front of people, and I get a lot of people that are really squirmish about how do I perform in front of people. I have stage fright, and I don't know, what moves to do, and just explain this to me with the years that I've had in performing. So we start here, and I want to do some shout outs before I get started. But anyway, so it's how to perform in front of people. That's today's live stream. And I want to get everyone's first name. By the way, if you give me your last name and you're from a foreign country, and if I mispronounce it, please don't get upset at me. I'm doing my best. But just give me your first name, where you're from. So we have, let's see here, we've got Richard V. Hey Ken, I'm 66, a tenor, and sing 2 to 4 times a month. How often and how long should I practice? Well, Richard, that's a great question, but first of all, it's not how long do you practice, how long do you practice correctly? That's the first question. If you're practicing correctly, I recommend in my singing course, How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, that you practice about an hour a day, sometimes 90 minutes. Personally, in the day, when I'm really going after something, I'll warm up for 90 minutes and then I'll still sing for like a couple, 3 hours. So just depending on how much stamina that you've built up, that would be dictate or determine how long you should practice. But true story, I mean, like, make sure you're practicing correctly so you're not embedding bad habits. So we have Wyatt, is solfege a good method? I don't want to talk about other people's methods, Wyatt, if that's okay. I don't mind. At Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, we have a saying, the proof is in the singing. So what I do is I just say, hey, if you like the way I sing, I'll show you how I do it. And then that way I'm not bashing other people, and other people may benefit from certain things, whatever. But I'm not going after other courses and coaches and methods and so forth. So Wyatt, just for my sake, the proof is in the singing. If you like the way I and my students sing, I'll show you how we do it. Ashley, can a bass reach a G4 in a chest voice? What exercises can we use to get there through all the vowels? Yeah, Ashley, I am a bit. I'm not a bass. I'm baritone. But when you say, are you talking rich bass? Are you talking character bass? There's a lot of different basses. So if you're a low rich bass, G4 is a high note for a rich bass. I mean, it's it can be done for sure. They can go all the way up to an A5 if they know how to do it right. And it's not just the vowel modifications themselves, it's how you get the strength in the abdomen, the relaxation response in the chest, the neck, and the throat, and then the vowel modifications as it gets up there. So if you want to post something and show us if you're truly a rich bass, then we'll be able to help you better through this. So go to my singing forums. We have, like, gosh, Bob is a killer moderator there. Bob, if there's something there that I'm talking about here that you can't get them to, just shoot me an email and I'll explain this to them as we go. So go into the forums, post a sample, and we'll get you dialed in. Okay, Roxy, how do I learn to lean into the vowel? I have your course. Okay, when we lean into a vowel, let's understand what that means. We are actually still compressing air. And by the way, all you guys that don't have my course, please don't do this. She's asking the question based on some stuff that we already do within the course. So if you lean on in a vowel, hey, you're leaning into it to kind of get a distorted, or you're over stressing the chords to get a harmonic structure that creates distortion. And you have to be really careful with this. So, hey, yay, right? What I'm doing is I'm leaning it. By the way, notice too, I have no, I haven't even warmed up yet today. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning for me. But it's not hurting me to do that. But hey, like I'm leaning into the sound, and I'm pushing into that by controlling the air, mitigating the air, and using glottal compression in order to be able to control and mitigate that air. So please go ahead and post again in the forums. One of our moderators will help you with that. And if you need to, do a personal with me, and I'll show you directly, and we can work this out. Roxy, how do you learn? Oh, I just did that. Sorry, Roxy. Mario, how do I get a better vocal compression? I just said that just now. I know chord closure is important, and I'm working on it, but I then start coughing. Okay, so that's okay. Woof. without getting into a lot of technical terms, we have a muscle that's down here, and I'm not going to go into all this, technical stuff, with sphincter muscle and this muscle, whatever. What happens is there's a gag reflex muscle that happens down here. And when we don't do this correctly, or if we have been coughing a lot, or there's other, health issues, it will actually trigger this muscle to make you feel like you want to start coughing, like you just said. And so what we do is we actually have to use, you have to open the throat, la, la, not la, la. And the more that we compress that air down here, and by the way, I do advocate compressing air in the chest, here at this muscle, and then up into, the epiglottis and so forth, and then on into, the hyperglottic compression, the main glottis. So what we do is first we have to get past the coughing part. Okay, so ha ha ha, sing clean. Do it. La la la. Now let's kind of compress the air. La. Hear that? Ah. Hey! Like I can start to compress the air without it coughing. And it's funny, Mario, that you should ask this right now, because we, as all of you guys know, and I'm going to say it again, humor me for 2 seconds. We lived in Hawaii. We used to live in Southern California. We moved to Hawaii. We lost some homes there. And then we moved to San Miguel de Allende, Mexico for about 3 months. And I was going to say 9 weeks, 3 months. And then my grandson, who was there with us, yes, I'm a grandfather, and I'll be 55 in a few days here, caught whooping cough. And I've never experienced anything like this. So he gave it to me because we hang out a lot together. And so I still, to this day, it's 3 months in and I'm still coughing. So what I have to do is I have to start light, and I have to keep real clean on my, the lungs and all these different muscle structures that can trigger this, coughing episode. And as I've done it, then the more I do it correctly, the more I'm able to open up space, open up space for the lung, the constriction muscles that are going to cause this episode. And I've learned that if I try to go straight to it, boom, I go straight to coughing, boom, I can't sing at all, but I can go, hey! Like I can do this now, but that's after I've been warming up for a long time. So there's a series of, a sequence, I should say, of events that you've got to do in order to be able to get past this, unfortunately. So Mario, go into the forums, post your question, and I'll do my best to get to your answer and give you some exercises that will help this out. So shout outs, Chamomile, Jung Kai Ye. Hey Chamomile, how you doing? Shauna Marie sings. Good to see you, Shauna. Paula Henriksen, hello. It got Sam sandwiched with the word hello. Sam, hello from Scotland. What's this? Ankh Rahi, I guess, right? Tarek, I'm forgetting about the last names, guys. Sorry about that. Hey, Golden Baron. Hi, Ken. And I'm going to get into some content here because we have a lot to cover today. So, Beverlyn from Ghana. Hello, Beverlyn. Vocality. Hi, Shauna Marie. I think you're the same Shauna that just said. Stefan from Trinidad. Hey, Stefan. Speaking of Trinidad, I've got a really great student out in Grenada, which is not too far from you. Something Guns N' Roses. What was his name? Go Umandur. Linda. Greetings from England. Linda Gomezi. Anyway, all right, guys. I got a lot of shout outs, but what I really want to do is get into content. So bear with me because this is going to be really worth your while. And but before we get started, I want to share a couple more things with you guys. I'm going to slow this whole thing down for a second. I'm just literally sharing my life story with you. Everybody's story is different. Everybody has a different journey. I'm not here to tell you that my journey is the only journey. But what I am here to tell you is that if you like the way I sing and you like the way my students sing, I can just share you my journey. And I'm a really intense guy, and I've spent a lot of time really studying stuff. For those of you that know, I'm a history major at UCLA. I've done all these different things in my life where when I dig into something, I really want to know it. I really want to understand it. I want to know why, and I want to be able to also express this to other people. I didn't early on. I wasn't planning on being a teacher, but I found out that I really like it, and I like inspiring people. So So let's just start with the Ken Tamplin Journey. There's a website of Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience, for example. He's got a potty mouth, whatever. But I really like the fact that he's considered sort of the men's Oprah or something, right? So hopefully I can be like the Oprah of singing in that sense. So all I can do is share my journey of how hard I worked at this and what it cost me, and hopefully you will benefit from this. So as we go through all of the different things that I've done, it may make some sense to you, and you may be able to benefit from it. And so with that said, I want to kick this off and start this way. So how to perform in front of people. I wish most of you guys had already watched my videos on stage fright, because then you'd relate to some of the things I'm going to talk about. And I don't get a chance to share those stories, but I want to start here because if you didn't, please go back and refer to those stories, because I promise you they're worth your while. But so this goes beyond just stage fright itself. I want to talk to you about the early part of my life, because in adolescence you're growing up. You don't wake up being Ken Tamplin. You don't wake up being Steve Perry. You don't wake up being Mariah Carey. You start as a kid and you try to figure stuff out, and you go, gosh, this is cool, that's cool. I don't understand this. How do I make this other thing work? So I remember when I was young, about the ages of 15, 16, and I was playing at a youth group at my church. Okay. By the way, I wasn't a singer at that point. I was a guitar player. Singing was not even in my. I kind of did it because I knew that I needed to get to my guitar solos. You heard me say that before. But I was terrified. I mean, terrified. I'm not kidding. And it seemed like all the practicing that I had done, and I did a lot of practicing. So, I know I have a video on stage fright. Gosh, if you practice enough and then you're so confident in your practicing, then by the time it comes to the game, you're good to go and you don't have to worry. No, I was terrified. I was sweating. My fingers couldn't even move. I was just terrified. So it seemed like all the practicing I'd done and all those hours that I'd spent on guitar and learning songs went completely out the window. Okay? I mean, it was just, sorry guys, true story. It's just called fear. It's called how do you sing in front of people? How do you play in front of people? But thankfully, there was a head youth pastor. His name was Jerry Hammett, and he was a really great guy. And he even though I had a meltdown, he gave me another shot. He was super sweet. And by the way, this church was huge. And yes, I'm a Christian. Like it or not, everyone's faith, whatever, do whatever. Again, this is a journey. I'm talking about a journey. So this is a journey of not just playing guitar and singing. It's a journey of life and what's important, whatever. And what your makeup is and how you, want to move forward with your talents and what you do. So for me, it's a born-again Christian, yes. And so, so this Jerry Hammett, he was so sweet. He goes, hey, you had a meltdown, at the youth worship service. By the way, the youth worship services were pretty huge. They were like 400 kids, 500 kids. It was like my first shot. And in my mind, I'm thinking, it's my shot, right? So anyway, he was really sweet. And he said, hey, we have a really famous gospel artist named Jesse Dixon. God rest his soul. He just passed away, recently. Would you and your band, I just had formed a new band called Revival, be willing to come and play as warm up for Jesse Dixon? And I'm like, did he just ask me that? I'm like, it was an epic fail, and the guy's giving me another chance. Okay, stop. So you have someone in your life that loves you enough that's willing to give you another chance. This is Ken Tamplin talking, who's doing thousands of shows. Like, think about the math of this, right? And I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, why would you want to do that after I just epically failed? And he says, because I believe in you. Like family. I trust you. And I want to trust you with this. And I want to empower you to be able to do X. Now, maybe you guys don't have those empowered guys in your life. And I'm sorry if you don't. But still, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and listen to what I'm going to share. Okay? Because I got my butt kicked a lot of years for trying to get into different places here. Anyway, so Jesse Dixon. So our church was huge. It was Melodyland Christian Center. And sorry for you guys out there that don't love the faith, hang in there with me too, because it's just pretend it's a show then if that's where you got to go with this. Anyway, it was about a 3,500 seat fest hall. It was in the Round. It was right across the street from Disneyland in Southern California, right across the street, Melodyland. I think probably that's why they named it Melodyland. Anyway, so Ralph, I don't know, in fact, I was going to tell you the pastor's name, forget it. So anyway, So we got to warm up. My band called Revival. We practiced for a whole year, and we got a chance to warm up for one of the biggest gospel artists. You know, it was a sold out thing and whatever. And so I got in there, and you know, I wasn't really into singing. Like I said, I was into playing guitar, and I had this killer pedal board. And I mean killer. Like I went in this era. You know, you'd get Rat and you know all the electro harmonics and all these different pedals and you know, you had this pedal board. And for you guitar players out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so you'd really depend on this pedal to make a certain guitar sound for the song that you wrote or that you were doing. And it was sort of the whole vibe of the song. Well, unbeknownst to me, what happened was, as I plugged in, we sound checked, we sounded great. We had three beautiful girl singers in front. I wasn't singing at all. I was playing guitar. I was the leader, but the guitar player. And someone in this round had accidentally kicked the AC cable out of my pedal board, and my pedal board went blank. And it's like taking away your secret effects. I mean, all of a sudden I can do nothing, and I'm kind of freaking out, right? And I'm talking flangers, phasers, distortion, delays, reverb, like all this stuff you depend on for. Imagine for a second, like let's think about this, right? Imagine if you're in YouTube and the Edge all of a sudden has his delay go out because everything he does is like, imagine if you went dat 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 like there's nothing, right? Because you depend on the sound so much, right? And especially if it's written for the song. So kind of get your brain around this. So anyway, I'm freaking out. I admit it. I'm freaking out. My second chance, Jerry Hannum, sweet guy, youth pastor, giving me a second shot, okay, at a big show. So right as the band was announced to play, as this AC cord went out and I panicked, I started pulling out my cables and freaking out and throwing them. I was frustrated, and you know, this is going to get to how to perform in front of people. Hang in there with me, guys. I promise. It's a process. It's what we go through. It's how we learn, okay? So anyway, so I'm pulling all these cables out and I'm freaking out, and I could tell, you know, there was like, even the singers were like looking around going, Ken, are you okay? Can we start now? Like, you know, imagine, ladies and gentlemen, the next band, Revival. And for 3,500 people, this is a big show. And all of a sudden, I'm freaking out, throwing cables down and losing it. Okay? Ken Tamplin, true story, straight up. Okay? So anyway, I wound up just taking my main cord of my guitar because my amp was still live, and I plugged directly into the amp, and I just went, let's go. So I did it, did my best, pretty good performance, believe it or not, and we finished. And what's funny is I'm going to tell you about a lesson that I learned from this in about 2 seconds, but in fact, I'll do it now. Fast forward about 2 years from this incident. I'm in another band, okay? With some pretty well-known musicians in the area, and I mean high-level players, and I was really woodshedding my craft. Again, we're not even talking singing yet, guys, so stay with me on this. I promise, stay with me. It'll be worth your time. So anyway, in this other band, and someone, the bass player, he was an African-American guy, he says, we were talking about, you know, the most uptight shows, and that came up in a conversation, and he said, yeah, I was at a gospel show with Jesse Dixon at Melodyland Christian Center because I wanted to see Jesse, and the guitar player completely freaked out. And I'm in the band with this guy. He didn't recognize me. And I'm like, I was that guy. That was me. You know, and he was like, oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't mean to like insult you. But it was pretty funny because I'm sitting there like with someone from their perspective, not from my perspective, because how would I know? You know, I'm getting it from his perspective. He goes, yeah. And I'm sitting here laughing. And then I realized how utterly ridiculous I must have looked at this. And people are coming, you know, they're coming to be entertained. They're coming for, in the church setting, they're coming for healing. They're coming for, you know, just to get their brain out of one space, mind space, into another space, you know, and Ken Tamplin's out there just freaking out, right? So you'd think that I'm this guy that's always had it together. No way, dude. I had to humiliate myself with these brownie points to get to the levels of certain things. So anyway, it's how you interact with an audience that matters. Really, true story. So we're going to get now into, how do I perform in front of people? And I want to, again, I'm giving you a backdrop of how I know what I know. And by the way, let's do this again. If you have a vocal coach out there that you like, uh, ask them, how many performances have you done? And how many tours have you done, and how much experience do you have? When you're getting information, please get it just from people that have done it for a while, so that you get good quality information. And I may not be your guy for you, but I'm just kind of sharing stuff. So anyway, so yes, the performance matters, but it's like they're coming to see sort of a tightrope walk act. Gosh, can he really do it like the record? Can he really walk across that tightrope and make it to the end? Is he going to hit that high note? Is he going to do this? Is the guitar solo going to sound the same? Like, they're coming for a tightrope walking act. So, but they're not your enemy, and they're not here with their arms crossed going, I can't wait till he fails. You're your fans, and they're looking to enjoy what you're doing, but they're curious, can you really pull this off? Okay? So, and also, can you pull it off with panache and style and class, and are you interacting with the audience? And I'll get to that in a minute. But the performance matters. But like I said, they're coming to see the tightrope walking thing, musically speaking. But they also want to enjoy your personality. Are you engaging them? Are you throwing cables over across the room and getting uptight? What if I just took the cable? Let's roll the camera back for a minute. 30 some odd years, 40 years, like a lot of years. Anyway, let's roll the camera back. Let's say the cable didn't work. And I dangled it, and I went, and I went, doesn't work. Threw it out, kind of funny, plug into my amp, go with the flow, and just do the best I can. The audience would have really appreciated that a lot more than if I'd gotten all uptight, slamming cables on the ground and pushing my pedal board away and all the stupid stuff I did. I was young, I was 16, so, but I learned, and I learned from my experiences. So how do I perform in front of people? Now, I know we have a lot of singers out there, so I'm going to get to that part too, but this is my instrumental experience of that, and I'm going to get to the singing experience part. So anyway, I purpose to look at the audience in a whole different way, guys, like family. I've talked about this before. They're my friends. They're not my enemies. They're not there with my arms crossed waiting for me to do something wrong or to make fun of me. That's not what they're there for. And this really helped me with the hecklers, because I got a lot of hecklers. Now, for those of you that aren't people of faith, you can probably imagine if you're in a bar and you're trying to share a spiritual story, or you're in even a Christian setting, because I'm a Christian, I've gone in through a lot of those venues too, where they think you're not Christian enough and they try to heckle you. You get a lot of people that heckle you, and you have to understand how to. And for the stage fright guys, go to my video on Heinz that called giant German guy in the south of Spain who called me out and came up on stage and was going to kill me. I gave him the microphone, ran off the stage so he could see what it was like to stand in front of thousands of people, and then he did a stage dive, and I congratulated him, came back, we won the audience over, and the rest is history. But you have to understand how to kind of roll with the punches on this. Dave Grohl, if I were to pick a guy that is just really cool, I'd have to say it's Dave Grohl. He is so good with I'm just a guy. Man, I'm lucky enough to get, I went from playing drums for Nirvana, I get to front a band, and he gives the mic to other people, and sometimes they might even be better than him, like the Kiss guy, if you ever saw that video. So, there's this sweetness about it. Like, we're not, we shouldn't be expected to be the all too guru guy. We're just artists that are just trying to share our art and share our heart and our minds and interact with our audiences in a way that everyone goes home with a smile and they're inspired and they want to come back and see us, right? Okay, so anyway, and I know this might be long-winded, but guys, we're talking years of doing this, thousands of shows, 40 records later, like a lot of stuff. So anyway, I'm going to continue on. So the next two things I want to bring up before I go here. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to lose my cool. Or I can't tell you how many times I was thrown off base. That's the second one of two. Off base, and I wanted to run and hide, or wanted to go do something. And you're faced with a situation, okay? And I don't turn my back to the audience. And we're going to talk about the Christina Aguilera, masterclass crap. And it is crap. It's really well produced, but I'm just telling you, you don't tell somebody, first I start out like this, and then I turn to the audience, and it freaks them out because I'm so awesome that I'm Christina Aguilera. Really? Okay, freak them out, whatever. How about giving them something that you're going to engage them with, that's rather than you being the end all and you're going to turn, like, that's your master class? Okay, cool. I've been trying to give you guys really good information as we're going through this, but keeping your cool, no matter what happens, really, no matter what happens, keeping your cool. This is essential. And you could have the whole, in fact, there was a time, in fact, I've never shared this story. We were in, gosh, it was in the south of France somewhere. It wasn't Menton. It was just past Monte Carlo. It was just, yeah, whatever. Anyway, it was in France. And the entire PA system went out. Think about it. You're ready to perform. They were using generators. We were by the ocean, and the generators couldn't supply both the lights and the PA, and we actually had to disk the lights and not use the lights later and use the PA system. So anyway, so we're in South France, and thankfully I had one song that I was going to do an acoustic thing on, and I mean, like, imagine there's 2,000 people sitting there looking at you, and they paid money to come see you and the next bands and whoever's on, and so I just broke out the acoustic. Think about it. All of a sudden, your world is shattered. What are you going to do? You're going to run and hide. Gee, sorry, cancel the show. No. The coolest thing ever, and I mean the coolest thing ever, is to take those moments and turn them into moments of this is your family in a living room, and you're going to engage them in that kind of way. Really think about this. So I grab my acoustic. I'm all by myself. I'm on a bench, kind of like this one here. Hold on. Very similar. This one is a bench like this, right? And I'm sitting there. By the way, that was a prop that was intended. I have to put my cell phone on there so that my team, if I have issues, I've got my cell phone and blah, blah. So anyway, and I just sang. I just sang alone. I sang 3 ballads. The audience started singing. I did sing a Journey tune, so I cheated a little bit because I knew there was a song they would do because I was doing originals at the time. But anyway, so I sang this tune until the team could come together, realize that they used too much power. They couldn't use the lights and the PA at the same time, so they turned the lights off, and then we resumed the concert. And it was maybe 15 of the longest minutes of my life. It could have been, I don't know, but I had fun. It was cool, and I got everybody singing. And then when everything came back on, it was like, wow! It took it up to like a whole new level. Now, I could have been the early Ken Tamplin, pissed off, throw my guitar down, Axl Rose out, Yngwie Malmsteen out, just freak out and just, whatever. Or I could have just been there with my friends, my family, and said, hey, sorry that the lights went out, but what would you guys, you want to sing a song with me? That's exactly what I said, too, by the way. You guys want to sing a song with me while they can try to figure out the technical difficulties. So as we go through this, guys, this is how you perform. I promise it will. If you're really looking on how to do this, this is how you do it. So as we let this stuff roll off of us, we have to be quick-witted. And sometimes in a moment of panic, it's hard to be quick-witted. Very hard. In fact, the first thing to go through is, how do I get out? How do I, get out of this situation? And change your mindset and go, how can I turn that situation into a good situation? And I can't tell you how many times there was another time, I was in a band, Shout, many years ago, and we were playing it, like at the Cornerstone Festival or something, and there was a stage, and they just built the stage, and this was dangerous. I was literally sitting there. I have this song called Dancing Around the World, and so I invited a couple people on stage to dance with me on this song, right? Well, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that unofficially I was inviting a lot of people to dance on the stage. So people kept coming up, and the stage started to move. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, man, if more people come on the stage, it cannot sustain this weight. Everyone's going to die, or we're going to have a bad accident. So in true fashion, learning my lesson, I wound up going, kind of smiling and sending people off and this is great, you're done, you're done, you're done. And I had to escort people off the stage before we all killed ourselves. This is true. This goes on night after night after night. This isn't one night. This is like, when you have a lot of experience, you understand how this works. Anyway, but it's called entertainment. And we're there to entertain people, put smiles on people's faces. And you have to remember that, yeah, they want the perfection of, let me say this another way. They want to know that you've honed your craft in such a way that you're not concentrating so hard on your licks and your this and that, where you're looking at your fingers or you're looking at your drum set or whatever. So we have to get that out of the way. That's for sure. But also, we have to be able to be practiced enough that we can turn our brain on autopilot so that we can enjoy the entertainment part. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys, remember the story. I'll go through it quickly. The UCLA basketball coach, John Wooden, and when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was asked about, how they were able to win 10 straight seasons without a single loss. When at Bill Walton, how did you win 10 straight seasons without a single loss at UCLA? And they said, well, he trained us so hard that when it came game time, it was just entertainment. Well, we should really, truly take note of that. So we should train so well that we're not sitting there going, can I hit the high note? Can I play that lick? I practice it a lot. We're on autopilot, and we're really more, thinking about the audience and how to have them have a good time and how to enjoy their company. And, and it's not just about, I've seen 3 Judas Priest shows, and I'm not even the biggest Judas Priest fan, but and my cousin is Sammy Hagar, and he's actually really good at this too. But anyway, I remember thinking to myself, okay, I got to get out there, and I got to hit him with my biggest song first, and I got to wow him with my talent, and I've got to show them how awesome I am, and I'm just going to show the whole world. By the way, the whole world's not watching, it's just your fans, let's get that clear too. But anyway, and I remember one show, and Rob came out, and he strapped like an SM-57 to the exhaust pipe of his Harley, and the band's playing. He hasn't sung a single note, and the audience is going. They're all going crazy. He didn't sing his biggest note when he came out. He didn't go out and go crazy and do musically crazy, do the stuff. He's an entertainer. And he came out with something cool. He just came out in the Harley with his hat and, this, that. And he throws the hat into the audience. And he gets off the bike and he comes out and how you MFers doing out there and blah, 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 whatever he said. But I thought to myself, I go, wow, he just came in with no musical thing at all. And because of his personality, that was Rob, they just went, that's Rob, let's rock, right? So come up with what your shtick is. You come up with some things that you can do that is not, looking to kill yourself, because you want to pace your set. You don't want to give them your hardest stuff first, blow your voice out, do other things. You want to, be able to pace this stuff. So anyway, I talked about the John Wooden thing. And one other thing too, before I get to the next part of this, is that, gee, Ken, I'm glad you had all that experience. How do I start? I'll get to that in a second. So you're right. I mean, I showed you my start was in a little small, Christian worship band in Anaheim, California, and I kept trying to make my way. Well, that's part of the life journey. But if you can learn things without going through some of the experiences that I had that are negative and take the positive and integrate those into your experience, I think you'll get there a lot quicker. Okay, so anyway, what are some practical ways to do this, which is really important? I have, don't laugh at this. So I was in this band shout, and I look like a geek on stage. I can't dance to save my life. True story. I mean, I try. I've gone through salsa lessons. My daughter, by the way, is still a professional salsa instructor, so I got into swing dancing, and I tried to look at myself, I'm like, dude, you're pathetic, And it's interesting because most musicians are like that. They're really pathetic. Now, there are few that can do it, especially in the Latin world. Good for them. They've got some body rhythm. I don't have that. I have to work at it. I've learned how to do it a little bit. But anyway, so what I would do is, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I really did this, is I would put on my music, and I would stand in these full-frame mirrors, and I'd see how I looked. Now, I want to give you one example of this. Is I didn't know I did this, and I used to wear my guitar pretty high up because I played all this technical stuff, kind of looked like I was wearing a necklace with my guitar. And I do this, and then I lurch my arm over the top of my guitar. So like as I was talking, you know, I looked like I was transgender or something. Hi guys, Ken Tamplin here, you know, whatever. And so, and then I looked at that in the mirror and I went, what am I doing? This is crazy. One of my favorite guitar players is Jimmy Page, and he wears his guitar down, the bass down low. You know, he had his guitar way down low. Really hard to play your guitar down that low. But so I figured out a way to, okay, when I'm in the studio, I can do the technical stuff up high. When I'm live, I have to get my guitar down there to, you know, make it look cool. By the way, this isn't even singing. I'm just talking guitar here, so humor me for a second. So I'd be in front of mirrors. I'd practice in front of a mirror. I'd put the music on. I'd get in front of the mirror. As narcissistic as this might sound, I'm not a narcissist, but that's what I do. And I'd watch myself. And I'd go, did I really do that? Do I really do that? I'd even videotape myself after the fact, because when you're in the mirror you can correct stuff, but the videotape, you know, these clips don't lie. You know, the videotape clips don't lie. So you'd be able to watch yourself back and go, I look like a full-on geek. What a geek. You know, and again, then there's Mick Jagger, moves like Jagger. Mick Jagger's a geek. I don't care what anybody says. He is a rock star, but he's also a geek, and it's probably why people like him, because has the freedom to be Mick. And everyone goes, dude, you rock, because you have the freedom to be Mick. I didn't get the luxury of getting to that icon status, so I had to watch myself in a mirror and videotape myself. So I encourage you guys to do that. Next thing is the wow factor. I want to talk to you guys about this. When we think of, like, in terms of American Idol or X Factor or, you know, whatever, when I get to that note, and we're gonna kill him, and the whole audience is gonna go, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, and they're gonna go through this process. Guys, it's a journey. It's about the whole 90-minute set, 60-minute set. That's cool too, but they won't remember so much only the intro of what you do. They might, you know. They'll remember the pace of what you did. It's how you finish, and how you finish well, and do they want to hear more after? So as we go through this, remember that it's not, you're not going to go in and just walk in, and because you're warming up for some other band and you want to show off for them or whatever it is, you're going to go in and kill it. And you're going to, you know, no, it's about your personality and how you bring the audience into different shades and percentages of emotion through your music. So that's huge, and I mean huge, on how you read an audience. And by the way, too, you have to read an audience. You might change up your set in the middle of your set, where, let's say you practice something a lot, and the whole band has practiced, this song goes to this song, this song goes to this song, this song goes to this song, da 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 da, right? Where you've worked it out, you've been in your car, and you're, you know, driving along. Okay, then I go to this band, and then I go to. For you guys that are performers out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to have the freedom and the resiliency to go, I'm going to change it up tonight. You know, they're not responding to X, so I'm going to move on to X, and find out what that pulse response is between you and the audience. Extremely important. If you don't, you're just like a bullhorn going, you're just shouting at people, and then they may or may not respond to that. And you still, and there's another part to this too, is you may think that because an audience isn't responding, going, yeah, you rock, dude, whatever, they might be the kind of audience that just likes to listen, and they're not going to be crazy about how they respond to something. Usually bigger audiences always do that. If they like you, smaller audiences, not so much always. But doesn't mean you was an epic fail. Doesn't mean you failed. It means that you're engaging a different temperament or emotion from a different audience. So try to get that through your brain. Guys, this is golden. You're talking to a guy that's just played so many shows in so many, I mean, Magdeburg, Germany, when the wall came down, Japan, you know, I mean, I could go on and on and on about zillions of shows and how this all plays out and works out. So anyway, it was funny too, my mom, who just passed away a couple years ago, we went to the Greek theater, and Harry Belafonte, and I love Harry, he's awesome. And for those of you guys that don't know him, he was like maybe the first, before, you know, Bob Marley. He was the guy, a Caribbean, singer, but kind of did it in a really popular way in the early mid '60s, and then became, successful on through the '80s actually. Anyway, so he is the sort of the father of Caribbean music, and so I took my mom to the show because I knew she liked him, and in fact, a weird story about him. He has this really gruff voice. Go listen to him, Harry Belafonte. All right, and Dale, Dale, and then I come and it won't go home. It's called the Banana Boat Song. You probably heard that. He's got a lot of those songs. That was Sir Lord Alge, I think, that wrote that with him. But he was at the Greek Theater and doing this performance, and he had flown in for the date, even though he does live in Los Angeles. He had flown in for the date. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, he's not singing, and everyone's wondering why, and he has all these guest singers and stuff. And he's looking up, and this airplane's going across. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have said this before. He was dressed in like a white T-shirt, kind of shaggy blue jeans, and a pair of tennis shoes. And so the song goes by, his first song, and you'd think that he's going to walk out and kill it. And everyone knows the song, and you're saying to yourself, why isn't Harry singing my favorite opening song? And he's looking up this plane, and he goes, yep, they lost my luggage. There it goes. Yep, that's why I'm here today in this white T-shirt and these shaggy jeans. And everybody knew it, too. It was so obvious. He was just ragged. He had no clothes. The emperor had no clothes. He had no clothes. How did he treat it? What did he do? He used an opportunity of something, and he stopped the song, stopped the band, and he says, I guess I just got to say, Dale, Dale, daylight come and he won't go home. And then he hands the audience the mic, and they, day! Is that day, 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 yo. And he goes through, and we're all going, that's the Harry Belafonte we came to see, right? It could have been disastrous, but I almost wonder if that was premeditated. It was so cool, right? Dave Grohl is good at this too. Dave, you're a rock star. But I'm just trying to share with you guys how this all plays out. Anyway, he had the audience eating out of the palm of his hands. It was just awesome. Now, that's true. I've seen a Neil Diamond concert. I'm sorry to refer to old people, guys, because a lot of the newer music, and I've seen, everybody from Britney to Ariana Grande, and everything in between, and Madonna. All that stuff is, really dance-oriented, and they have all this pomp. Everything's pre-recorded. Nobody's singing live. There's no interaction with an audience, right? But I've had a chance to see a few things. So Neil Diamond, by the way, I got a chance to work with his son, Jesse Diamond, many years back. But, Neil Diamond, same thing, walks out and just, hey, everywhere around the world. I can't hear you. Everywhere around the world, they're coming to America. And he goes through this thing, and I'm like, the whole audience, 5,000 people are screaming, everywhere around the world, they're coming to America. Even the caravans, unfortunately, recently. But, so he just, audience eating out of the palm of his hand. Jack Johnson. Guys, don't hate me for this. I'm not the biggest Jack Johnson fan. It's because it's not my style of music. But seeing him live, it's like he can sing one line of a song and turn the mic over to the audience. Everybody knows his stuff, and he shares his stories, and his stories are just from his heart, and he's just sharing life experiences, and he's cool, like really cool. Like he has the audience eating out of the palm of his hand. Now I mentioned my cousin Sammy Hagar. I'm not saying that gratuitously to say, gee, I'm related to some guy. I got the gene. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Anyway, but same thing. Sammy can come out and just talk to people and, waitress, come over here, with this Cabo thing, and talk to the audience and get feedback, and, people throwing bras on stage, and they'll put them on, whatever. And Tom Jones was good at this too, right? So there's a lot of these, seasoned artists that have done this. Anyway, so I've shared a lot of stories, and two more things I want to share before I go into this is that this is my story. It's not your story. It's my story, my journey. And everyone has a different journey. So I want you guys to have your own journey and to find out how you can enjoy your audience rather than looking at them as armchair critics waiting to find out if there's what's wrong with your performance. Engage them. Think about it more like first as a conversation, You're out there talking to people, and then the music comes on to support what you're talking about. Not the other way around. Let me say that again. Think of it first as a conversation. You're engaging them as people, as humans that came to see you, or you're warming up for someone else, and you're trying to also enjoy their audience, and then engage them in your music, and do it with the storyline. So, speaking of that cough that I got, we don't want to hide behind our music abilities or inabilities. That's not our thing. Let me explain what I mean by that. Let's pretend you're a comedian and you don't have any music abilities, and you're going to go out and you're just going to talk to somebody for an hour. How do you do that? Well, you're tapping into what you know that people like or don't like, and you're engaging an audience. So the charisma of going out and literally think of yourself as a comedian, and I don't mean like everything has to be comical, but I'm just saying engaging. You got nothing. You got no instruments. You got no music, right? You've got to have a mindset of engaging this audience first, bringing them into your music. It doesn't mean that you can't bring them into your music by only doing your music. Of course you can. It's what you do and why we do what we love. But we also have to have the resiliency and the background and the ability to engage this in this way. So it's a delicious conversation where it's your time to share with people. Maybe preparing in advance. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean. Some things that you'd like to say, because it's really easy when the lights go on, you go blank, and you're like, I'm terrified. What do I say? Well, premeditate this. Go in advance. Think about, okay, I'm in Luxembourg, or I'm in Germany, or I'm in Paducah, Kentucky. I don't care where it is, but hey, Paducah, instead of going, gosh, where am I tonight, or whatever. Now, that's for the luxury of those that get a chance to tour, and those that don't, whatever, that's fine. But go in and premeditate some things about the songs that you have, so that you can think about, I want to share something about this song. It's important to me. My dad died, and it's a song about my dad, or I love my girlfriend or wife, or this, that, whatever. It's a song about that. And premeditate this to where you can engage them, where they can identify and relate to you in a way that makes sense. Have some stage moves. I was making a joke about me standing in front of a mirror, but I actually hired a couple of choreographers that looked at me and just go, no, 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 no. You ain't going there, girl. We're going to do this. So I did actually hire some people to help me on a skill set that I'm not good at. So I didn't pretend that I could go in, look at a mirror and go, okay, this is how I'm going to do this move. No, I hired people to come in and show me how I could look. In fact, Bob, if you don't mind, if you could post the shout, what was it, the Cornerstone Festival 1989, I think it was. Post that in the description. That'd be awesome. You could see, I hired a young gal to choreograph the whole band so that we could have some moves and some stuff. Now, it was contrived a little bit, but at least it created some energy, and I got better at it over the years, and I got a little more loose. But, work on that part of your craft, too. So it helps a lot. Visually, it helps a lot. The other thing, too, is interact with your bandmates on stage. It's a bummer because a lot of these guys hate each other, and they get to a point where you put the toothpaste into this, and, you didn't rinse the cup out, and I'm tired of your farts into this, and why do you get up all night and what me? So they get irritable with each other, and so they can't have fun on stage. You got to have fun on stage. If you're not having fun on stage, people aren't going to have fun with you. Engage your bandmates. Don't just push them off, or I'm the star, or I'm the guitar player, and the drummer's hiding behind the drum set. Engage them, because the audience can sense that they know it. It's very, very important. Don't take yourself too seriously. Guys, we're humans. We fail. No one should take themselves that seriously. I don't take myself that seriously. I know when I'm good at something, and I know that I have a certain amount, what's that, Liam Neeson? I've got a skill set, and I'm coming after you. Whatever that movie was, Taken, or whatever, his daughter was... yeah, I've got that skill set, and I'm going to go after it in that way, but I don't take myself that seriously, right? Like Dave Grohl, like I said, look at him. What a great example of awesomeness, cooking hot dogs for the firefighters in the California fires, bringing a whole entourage. Dave, by the way, why did you want to barbecue after everything else was being barbecued? Couldn't you have brought some pizza or some sandwiches? I don't know. It's another subject for another day. Don't take yourself too seriously. If your guitar is out of tune, crack a joke and say, well, it was in tune when I bought it. And it's funny because I used to wear a headset, or still do, wear headset wireless microphone. And it's actually how I got really good at tuning too, because I'd pretty much never use a tuner. I'd have the piano player go, hey, give me an E, E, give me an A, A, right? So I'd go through and I'd tune my guitar, and I would tune it by ear. So now I had fancy tuners, I had strobes and I had, everything in between. But when I'd get this headset wireless and my wireless guitar and I'd run out into the audience and I'd be playing in the audience, someone would bump my headstock and my tuning keys would go out. I don't get the luxury of running back on the stage to look. I don't get the luxury of that. So I had to go, bam, I'm in the saddle, right? So get your craft to a level where you're not depending on technology and all this stuff, because if you do, you're actually going to be subject to that. Like I said from the very beginning of this whole webinar, is that way back when my pedal board went out, I had to plug straight into the amp. Now let me tell you something funny about that. You ready? I actually like that more. A lot more. I used to have, I had a dual rectifier, Mesa Boogie. I love Mesa Boogie, they're killer stuff. And I got to the point where, and I know there's all these fancy racks out there and it's fun to have, different things that make different sounds, whatever. My preference was plugging straight into the amp, and it did have 3 choices. I got a kind of semi-dirty tone, a really dirty tone, and a clean tone. So I did have some play in that. But the coolest thing ever is that all I need is my amp. I don't need all those toys, right? All you need is you and your personality and your story. You don't need all the toys. You don't need all those toys, girl. Yeah, girl, you don't need those. Really, straight up, all you need is you, your story, your personality, and please make sure that you did your homework so that when you get on stage that it buys you the right to share your story, professionally speaking, as far as your ability. This is the quintessential key and example to how we get great at performing in front of people. So I'm going to get into this a little more, and I know I've been monologuing for almost an hour now, but I want to talk about some things that can help, okay? And I'm at this, I think I shared this before, and I share it again. I think I shared it once. My wife and I were sipping a glass of wine, eating some cheese and crackers. We're in a place called San Clemente, California. San Clemente? Yeah, I think it was. Anyway, Southern California. And I had to go to the bathroom. And there was a bathroom. There's a pier there, and there was where people gather just before that and skateboard and busking and whatever. So I'm going to the bathroom, and I walk by, and there's about 30 odd kids there, and the kids are like, so I'm walking by, this one guy's playing guitar and he's singing and he's really out of tune and he's not playing that great. But I was curious, because I like to know what the culture is doing. So maybe it was my fault in looking at them a little too intently. But I'm walking to the bathroom, and the guy says, "What are you looking at, old man?" I'm like, well, I didn't think of myself as an old man. I guess I'm getting older compared to the 20-year-olds that are standing here, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And I said, just trying to hear what you're doing. He goes, "You think you could do it any better?" And I'm like, And this is going to lead me to another story I've shared before, but it's worthy. And I'm like, probably. He has no idea who he just asked that to. And so he gives me his guitar. He goes, "Let's see what you're effing made of." And I'm like, I literally said, I'm just trying to go to the bathroom. And everyone laughs. You can't. Look at this. He's scared. The poor guy. Like, you can't. I'm like, I look at his guitar, and it was a piece of crap. It was an old Fender with a bowed neck. I look down the neck, and it's like bowed up this way. And I'm like, huh. So I took the guitar, and I just shredded a lick. By the way, for you guys that know me, I am a shredding guitar player. So guitar was my first instrument. Singing was my second instrument. So just so you know, I'm as good at guitar as I am at singing, okay? Let's just leave that here. And I shred this lick. And I threw the guitar back with him. And I said, "Your action's off." And everyone was like, oh my gosh, Grandpa's been doing this a long time, Sensei, Yoda just walked by. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is that, we as we go through performing stuff, and as we're looking into stuff, people are gonna have all kinds of things, negative things to say about you, whatever. I didn't do that to show them up. Wasn't trying to be, super awesome Ken Tamplin. But we're prepared for whatever situation that we're in. And this is a bit long-winded, but I want to get into a couple more things real quick. And I'm going to go over time with you guys. So if you're down for that, because I want to answer some questions, because we have a lot of questions coming in. Pace your set. Don't put your energetic stuff up front necessarily. Get, a lay of the land, hear the music, hear the drums, hear the guitar and the bass. Make sure you can hear yourself. This is for singers now. Make sure that, you've got yourself together, and then start pacing your set. Now, usually we work up a set, we put them in a row, and we work at that. That's fine, but be agile and be willing to change that. Make an experience for everybody. It's not just about the music. You're not just showing the world your best peak performances. And this, my friends, is how to perform in front of people, okay? I could say a lot more about the subject because I obviously have a lot of experiences, but I think we're good to go with this, and I want to get to some questions now. Thank you for listening to this hour-long monologue. Bob and Matt, do we have some questions here? I'm going to go up the food chain, running it up right now. Let's see here. I'm going to let Matt, if you could go ahead and show me where I need to be, I could do this. So as we're looking at this, closing shout-outs, we have, hold on, there's a lot of, by the way, I'm looking at friends that are helping me out here. On-topic questions. Golden Brennan, front of people, I don't know what that means, but front of people, I get tense and scared to hit high notes. Obviously, I strain. What do you suggest? Well, try going into like head voice and falsetto first, to where it's so easy that you don't have to worry about the strain part of it, and then work your way into when you're in a situation where you can actually pull it off, you can actually hit the notes. People won't know that if you've built up your falsetto enough to in a way that you can get away with it. In a live situation, they won't know that you're defaulting to that. In a studio, they will, because they'll hear it. But then you can actually start to build up enough confidence after you've done it a few times. You'll be able to pull that off. We got a lot of shout outs here. We got Shauna Marie sings. We've got Paula Henriksen. Hello. Hello from Scotland. We got a lot of guys, doing some shout outs. Anyway, guys, we've been talking for, over an hour. Next Saturday, I'm probably going to take Saturday off because of the holidays. So bear with me if you guys are cool with that. It'd be nice to just get a little bit of a break. And then we'll resume. Actually, I'm going to resume at the first part of the year. So I'm not going to do another live stream next Saturday through the end of December. I'm going to start at the next part of the year. But I will collect whatever comments, questions, and inquisitions that you have, and I will answer those in the next live stream. So everybody, thank you for joining me. Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof's in the singing. And until next time, God bless you and peace out.